What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I am your host, Christian Fowler, and joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Kuhn. We are without Kenny this week, so just me and Gabe. But Gabe, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. Brother. I cannot complain. I got my new grill in last week, put it together. It's my whole personality already, brother. I made some I made some ribeye steak sandwiches over the weekend, buddy.
How
little
good?
Caramelized onions, Havarti on some medium cooked ribeye, and I smeared. I made like a little horseradish mayo. Oh,
so good.
Oh, phenomenal, dude!
Is it a Blackstone or is it like a smoker?
It's the Ninja Flex Flame, so it's propane, but it has a smoker too. So it's a multi-use.
Okay.
So it's like I can throw the chips in the side and smoke, but I can also do the propane grill. It's nice.
Yeah, I know we talked about a couple of weeks ago you becoming a grill master, so I guess the first steps are in.
Yeah, and I made some kebabs last night, some chicken kebabs.
You're just
my whole personality already, brother.
And you said it came in when?
Last week. I had to put it together myself, so that was not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Out in the heat, throwing together that grill, picking up those heavy ass parts. That was not great, but got it put together and got cooking on it like 2 days later.
Yeah.
I think it was Friday was my first use.
And now it's just like fully.
Now, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, using it.
Watching TikToks and Instagram reels about what you can smoke.
Oh God, yeah. I've taken pictures and saved no less than like 10 recipes. I'm gonna smoke some ribs, I think, next time I get an opportunity. See if I can do it.
So that was your weekend, I'm assuming, pretty much.
Yeah, that was my weekend, brother. That was it.
Mine was pretty simple. Not too much going on, if I can remember correctly. It just all feels like a blur.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm sitting here trying to
remember. You did some heavy drinking this weekend?
No. I went to a concert Friday night. That's what I did.
Oh, okay.
Went and saw Ernest and Old Dominion at the Snowden Grove Amphitheater. And then Saturday had a wedding shower, then watched UFC 317, which was pretty solid. And that's about it for the weekend.
Yeah, the best card of the year.
I think so.
Hands down.
It was a good one.
We talked about John Jones' retirement when you were out last week. Kenny was still doing he's ducking Tom Aspinall thing.
He's a fool.
I'm like, I just told him it's just like he feels like it's below him, and I can't argue with him at this point.
You can't.
You know what I mean?
Nothing you can say about it. That's what I don't understand about people giving him crap. Is like, dude, he's done.
He's better part of 40 years old,
and he's done everything you can possibly do.
Yeah, it's like, and I said he still hands down the GOAT, and Kenny basically gave me the no, I'm giving it to GSP. I'm like, because of this,
because of this.
And I'm like, you can't do that spur of the moment bull crap, man. Like that's not how this works.
Kenny loves the John Jones hot takes, so
yeah,
I'm kind of glad I missed that because I just would have been.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna be I'm actually excited. So I'm off Thursday, Friday at work because Odyssey Memphis, great place to work. They're very nice about days off and around the 4th of July, around big holidays. I need to tell you now, I won't be here next Monday. Let you know right now. I'll be out in San Diego.
Oh,
We're taking Myers on his first cross country trip. Wish us luck.
That'll be fun. Because y'all have taken him to St. Louis, correct?
No, we haven't taken him anywhere.
Oh, I thought y'all did take him to St. Louis.
Nope. No, we did once. Yeah,
once. Like right after he was born.
That's in a car. This is plane travel.
Yeah, no, plane. Yeah, this is different. But this isn't like his first trip. He's been.
Yeah, true. But like in the car, it's different. Like I
got a little more control in the car.
Yeah, and like there's so many other people. Like that's the problem. Is like you're gonna be self-conscious. He starts crying and yapping on the plane.
Yeah. Then you're like,
because I know me before I had a child. It's like I hear a kid crying, shut that baby up, shut that damn thing up, and I'm gonna be the one with. Well, hopefully he doesn't start screaming, but once that plane gets going, the engine gets going, and I don't know.
Yeah, if he does, then you'll understand and be like.
And this 4 hours. This is 4 hours worth of 4 hours plus worth of travel with the layover. It'll be like a 7-hour travel day.
So y'all leaving Thursday?
That's all I can say.
Thursday morning?
Yeah, you know what I'm doing, by the way?
What?
Getting out there? I hope I make you jealous on the 4th of July.
Let's hear
playing Torrey Pines.
Oh, yeah, that definitely. I mean, how would that not make me jealous?
I get to play Torrey Pines on Friday. That'll be a good time.
That's pretty great. When are y'all coming back?
I'll be back on Tuesday night.
Gotcha.
Tuesday night.
Yeah, we're going to the beach on Wednesday. So you and I both will be out of town, but I'll be back Sunday.
Wait, you're going to Florida? Alabama?
Yes, Alabama. Okay. Yeah, we're going to Gulf Shores with Anna Ruth's family. They left Sunday. They're going Sunday to Sunday, but
this is a great time to bring this up. Have you seen the debates between California beaches and Florida beaches?
I've not seen the debates. I'm unaware.
Okay, there's a bunch of debates about which one's better.
I've never been to California.
I've been to both. I'll say, like, Florida beaches you can actually swim in comfortably. You know, you're in the Gulf, and it's like it's warmer water. Yeah. Pacific Ocean is cold as hell year round, and the swell and the tide is like brutal,
unswimmable.
Yeah, like, well, it depends. Like it's more like surfing and water sports type water, whereas like Florida, you're not gonna get a whole bunch of that.
Yeah, it kind of fits like the two states too. You got California like more active and outgoing.
Like I think they both have their purposes. I don't really understand the debate.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, do I want a cheeseburger or a hot dog? It depends on what mood I'm in.
Yeah, I've never been to California, so I can't give an opinion there. But
okay, I got you.
They're not. I know they're nice and laid back in Florida, so no complaints for me. All right, Gabe, we're gonna go ahead and jump in it. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk Grizzlies. We don't have a lot of Tigers news going on right now, as everybody knows, but we do have the start of NBA free agency. We got a lot of extensions coming through. We saw today Jaren Jackson, Santi Aldama, Cam Spencer all get extensions, with Jaren obviously being the headliner. What was it, 5 years, 240? Is that correct?
Yep.
And Santi, I think, was 3 year, 52. So couple of extensions for the Grizzlies. Gabe, how do we feel about this? We're in the aftermath of the Desmond Bane trade now, so we're kind of seeing at least a little bit of direction with these extensions and another move that we'll talk about here shortly.
So Jaren's is a 5 year, $240 million max, and they're going to have to clear $10 million. And they're trying to clear the Cole Anthony contract that they got through that Desmond Bane trade to clear that up so they can get this thing signed. I fully expect them to do that. Santi, 3 years, 52.5. So right around $17.4 million a year. Jaren's going to be around $48 million per year. Now, I want to start by saying I'm glad that both these guys are going to be a part of the Grizzlies long term, because I think they're both very useful, very good players. Jaren, of course, Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time All-Star, 3-time All-Defense. Still relatively young. You're going to get him for 5 more years, unless something happens, you end up trading him. But you get him for 5 more years, which is his entire prime. So, like, you can't ask for much more to be able to draft a 19-year-old, develop him into what you want him to be. He's taking leaps every single year, and you get to sign him to a long-term extension and take up his whole prime. Like, I think that that's a good thing. Santi Aldama, most productive guy off the bench, right around 12, 13, 14 points per game, depending on the situation. He's been 38% from 3 in the playoffs. He's a dribble, pass, shoot big that's 7 foot. And, like, that's one thing I want people to understand. To find a dribble, pass, shoot big that can do what he does on the floor, whether he's playing the 4 or the 3, he can play out on the wing. Like, that's not a normal thing.
No,
okay, like, you don't get a bunch of footers playing out on the wing. Like, that's not something that everybody has. And it gives you so much more optionality on the offensive end, I think. Santi obviously has his defensive limitations. So there's that. Now, when I see reaction, most of the reaction you'll get is, well, the Grizzlies are overpaying for these guys. Like, yeah. Like, I will truthfully admit, Grizzlies are overpaying by a little bit. For Jaren, do I think he's worth $48 million a year based on what he's shown me? Probably not, although it's what the market commands. Santi, is he worth $17 million? I think more $15 million per year, but $2 million of an overpay I'm not going to lose sleep over.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, regardless of what you think about these guys and their limitations and what they don't do well, they do a lot of things well. And when you're in a small market like Memphis,
you got to cough up a little bit more.
You have to. It's the price of doing business to overpay good players. And if you want to like take a message away from me, take this message away. Jaren and Santi are better than anything they could have ever gotten on the open market for free agents.
Yes.
Think about that. Jaren and Santi, without question, are better than anything they could ever get on the open market when it comes to free agency. So, like, that's how you kind of need to rationalize it in your head. Obviously, I understand it's going to get harder to pay. Flexibility goes away when you pay guys like this, but you know what I mean? You lock up your homegrown talent that you've developed, and it is what it is. And then Cam Spencer, 2 years, $4.5 million, get another dog out there. Now, with him, it's kind of interesting because you have sort of Vince Williams Jr., Gigi Jackson, Cam Spencer kind of on that same type of deal, sort of wait and see who breaks through the rotation. One of them has to break in, right? One of them has to figure it out. So I think they've taken a couple shots on these guys. Cam Spencer is the next in line.
Yeah, I mean, really focusing on what you said about like it's the price of doing business, because you'll see people saying overpay, both, Grizzlies fans and just NBA fans in general, saying, I can't believe that Jaren and Santi commanded these numbers. But I'm right there with you. Like, it just is part of being in a small market. And for Grizzlies fans that are like talking about the move and talking negatively about the amount of money that was paid to Jaren Jackson Jr., kind of to your point as well, what else are you going to do? There's not another option. And that's the thing I think people have to focus the most on. Like, there is no other way. There is no, someone riding into the sunset to the Grizzlies to help them and catapult them to being a championship level team. Correct. And I know there's been big free agency rumors to the Grizzlies for I don't know how long.
Nothing's ever materialized.
But it's never materialized.
Except Chandler Parsons for obvious reasons, because he was hurt as hell.
Right. And so it's like that. Those kind of things just aren't going to, or at least they haven't shown capable of happening. So someone like Jaren, who on the court, like you said, 2-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year, has been incredible, has taken steps pretty much every year and become a better player pretty much every year throughout his career and become more of a superstar. Especially over the last 2 or 3 years. There's nothing you can do. You can't get rid of him. You can't move on. You can't trade him. Like, you just have to pay him.
I mean, you could trade him, but you're going to get a bunch of first-round draft assets and maybe, a player that's half as good as him, or a couple of players that are half as good as him. And, like, who's guaranteeing you're going to hit another draft pick that's as good as Jaren Jackson Jr. in the future? You can't guarantee that. In fact, it doesn't happen very often. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's like, as much as I think 5 years, $240 million for Jaren, based on what he's done in the past, is a lot. It's too much. There's no other options in this situation for the Memphis Grizzlies. There just isn't. And even if he hit that Supermax where it was 5 years, $340 million, probably pay that too. You just really can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and that's the other alternative. Like, at least he didn't get the Supermax. At least they didn't have to pay him that. I feel like people have forgotten about that already. But, I don't know. I don't understand people complaining about these type of things, because I feel like most Grizzlies fans understand and know Jaren, over the last 2 years, has become the centerpiece of this team. Like, he is the nucleus of this team. He's a great ambassador for the city and for the Grizzlies, and it's the price of doing business. Like, that just, it is what it is. It's not going to change. People are like, I saw a couple people on Twitter bringing up the point of like the Thunder and the Pacers and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, maybe when the Grizzlies are competing for a championship, then maybe they have a little bit more allure. Just, relating it to the small market and saying, well, look at what these teams have done and look at the players that they have. And it's you can't compare that. It's not apples to apples whatsoever. So I think they did the right thing. I think they locked up the players that they had to lock up. And also free agent addition, Ty Jerome from the Cavs. What did you think about this? Pretty friendly deal, in my opinion. A little over $9 million a year for someone who averaged 12.5 last year.
I think this was really well done by Zach Kleiman.
I agree.
$9.3 million a year for a guy who was third in Sixth Man of the Year voting. Averaged 12 points per game, can run an offense, by the way.
Yep.
Averaged right around one 1.5 steals per game. Shot 44% from 3. I mean, and he's still in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really good addition. Now, do I have some questions about like how the fit's going to work? Like what happens with Scottie Pippen Jr. now? Like how do you deploy him? Where does he play? Where does he find his minutes? I don't think Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. is really a good like off the bench backcourt pairing.
Yeah.
Because one is like almost all defense and gives you a fair amount of scoring. Scottie Pippen Jr. showed us that at the end of the year. And one, has his shortcomings, even though he's 6'5", can probably guard 2 guards, unlike Scottie Pippen Jr. on a consistent basis. He's not a good on-ball defender. I just feel like that pairing would be weird. But one thing I do love is Ty Jerome can play alongside Ja, just like Scottie Pippen Jr. can play alongside Ja.
Yeah.
And here's the even better part to think about. Like, this is how I really rationalize it. Like, Ja misses games. Now, I understand, like, the Grizzlies are never going to be a championship contender unless Ja stays on the floor more than he has the last 3 years.
Right.
I think everybody needs to realize that.
Keep you afloat.
Yeah, everybody needs to realize that. But in the event of him being off the floor, which he will be off the floor for his handful of games, whatever that looks like, having Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. as your 2 sort of main backups, I really like it. Ty Jerome can slot into that starting sort of point guard role, and you're going to miss Ja, no freaking doubt about it.
Yeah.
But you still have a whole lot in Ty Jerome in the event of Ja missing time.
Yeah, I think like you're saying, it just gives you insurance. It makes you feel a little bit better about that rotation if and when Ja does miss games, because just as we've seen with this play style, with the way that he tries to attack the rim, that things happen, and those can be long-term as we've seen, or they can be a couple weeks at a time. And to have someone like Ty Jerome who could potentially keep you in a rhythm as a team and you don't fully fall out of this rhythm, like you said, he can run an offense. He can be good on the offensive end of the floor. Like I said, average 12.5, can hit threes. Like he's going to be able to keep you afloat and more than likely keep the rhythm within the offense until Ja is able to get back. And so whatever it is, 2-3 weeks, a month, however long, if something does happen, you feel confident enough in someone to say, okay, we're going to stay in rhythm. When Ja comes back, we feel good. And it's not like this entire relearning process like it's felt like in years past.
And what's kind of funny is like looking at the reaction by some where it's like, oh, defensively, man, like you're taking a step back. This guy, he can't play defense. I don't think that's the whole truth, man. Yeah. Like he's pesky. You know what I mean? He can get steals. He has active hands. He's still relatively sizable. The problem that you run into is the last time we saw him play, the Pacers were absolutely picking on him every time down the floor. But can we be completely honest about it? Pacers picked on freaking everybody in these playoffs.
Right.
Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, SGA in the damn finals. Remember Andrew Nembhard putting SGA in a blender, stepping back from 3 and knocking down a dagger? Yeah, I remember it. So, like, in the end of the day, I don't know if I can hold that against Ty Jerome. I do think he has shortcomings defensively, but I think he provides a steady hand in facilitating offense and a steady hand at the three-point line. And unlike Luke Kennard, he's actually going to put up shots.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Luke Kennard, one of our biggest issues with him, even though he's a 45% three-point shooter, is it's like, dude, when you touch leather, put the damn shot up. Ty Jerome, if you watched him last year with the Cavs, he has no issue.
No.
Just firing from 3. He has no issue at all.
Yeah.
So I really like this, and I like the value they got him at.
Yeah,
it was being reported originally that they were wanting to use most of the 14.1 mid-level exception. I know I'm getting into like cap terms, and I trying to follow along with NBA cap is like it's debilitating. It is like mind-numbing. But they wanted to use most of that 14.1. That's what Ty Jerome was asking for. Getting him at 9.3 per year. Again, things can age badly, and everything has the potential to age badly. People get hurt. People regress. People don't look the same in a new uniform. But I feel like based on what we've seen from Ty Jerome, that is a really, really good deal.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think we have one more topic before we move on to the hot 3. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Dain Dainja had his waiver denied by the NCAA.
Shocker.
You want to see my surprise face?
Yeah. Very surprising.
There's my surprise face.
Yeah.
I mean, we were hopeful for a while, sure. I don't think hope ever turned into like reality in my mind or confidence.
No.
Like some people had it sort of turn into. NCAA waiver process for Memphis has failed 3 straight years though now.
Yep.
And this one's not surprising. And it leaves them with some holes in their front court. But like first of all, when you saw that come across your Twitter timeline, what was your reaction? Just okay.
It was just like, oh yeah, it's finally public that it's not going to happen.
I mean, appreciate it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how optimistic people felt like the program was. It doesn't matter how optimistic fans were. Like for me personally, I never felt good about it. Like I've seen it too many times, like I've seen these situations where a player has a good case and it makes sense. And you say, I can look at this other example for fill in the blank team with fill in the blank player, and the situation's very similar, and they were granted. As we know with the NCAA, none of that stuff ever matters. It is never the same. It's always different. It's always judged different. Always. There's never we've talked about it constantly over the years. There is no rhyme or reason with the NCAA and the waivers. And I just never felt confident about it. So when it came out, it was just like, oh, okay, now they officially know, I guess. I feel like they should have known this the whole time, that it probably wasn't going to happen. And here we are with confirmation of that.
And truthfully, like the reason I knew it probably wasn't going to happen is like people will look at, I think Ali Khalifa, who's a 5th-year guy, got a waiver, and Trayvon Mark's gotten one in the past. And like there's been waivers given out all over the country. The problem innately with Dain Dainja asking for one is he had academic issues when he was at Baylor.
Right.
The NCAA still fancies themselves an academic and athletic institution.
Yeah.
So when you're asking them to give you lost time, it was just like the DeAndre Williams situation as well. Even though DeAndre Williams, like based on what I was reading, was sort of led astray by his academic advisor. Like he had a real excuse.
Yep.
I think Dain just struggled. You know what I mean? So it's like anytime that academics was a reason that you couldn't play or why you lost a year, you just don't get that year back. The NCAA still stands on some level of business. As much as I can't stand them, as wrong as I think they are at times, they consistently have had this outcome when it comes to academic issues leading to lost years. So shouldn't be surprised. Now, what the Tigers did, and we were wondering because Penny said, we have this, we're going to add more. We're going to add more. So I guess he thought Dain was probably not going to get the waiver. And this was like last week. So we're like, who's this mystery man they're going to add? Because like there's nothing in the portal market at all. So we all were just sort of sitting there. We're like, okay, he's probably going to have to go international, but where does he go? He's going to have to find a big. He ends up signing. We got the news today that Simon Mahok, a South Sudanese player, 19 years old. He's played in the Serbian Developmental League for a couple of years now. And last year in 7 games, he's 7'1", center again, averaged 17.3 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2.6 blocks per game in that Serbian Developmental League. So I mean, this is going to be a raw prospect. I wouldn't expect him to just like be night one starting center by any stretch of the imagination. He's never played against competition like this. He's got to round out his game. This is going to be if Penny can keep him on campus, because Lord knows that's been trouble. This is going to be a multi-year developmental pickup, in my opinion. Yeah, but I guess in the event where you have multiple guys go down in the front court, here's at least a 7'1" body.
Yeah, you at least have a body. And it's just one of those things that we've seen year after year, and not necessarily always international with Penny Hardaway's teams, but he does like to get these guys that he feels like are low risk, high reward. And if they hit, they hit. And if they don't, they typically move on the next year. And with just the lack of depth in the front court, it feels exactly like that. Look, this is a developmental prospect. bring him in. If we're surprised and he can play some minutes this year, great. If not, it's a guy, it's a body that if we absolutely had to, DEFCON level 3, we could bring him in. But it's just one of those things. Like, it's not something to get too excited over. It's an addition, but what does it really do for this team this year? Does he stay long term, even if he is able to be developed into a starting caliber player at the college basketball level? It's just another one of those things. A lot of question marks, low risk, high reward, and we kind of just have to wait and see on how it pans out.
All right, bear with me for a second. I know we have a lot of Tigers fans that watch our show and watch our network here at Bluff City Media. But I have to be honest with you for a second. It's not going to be easy. It's a hard pill to swallow. But I've seen some fight back against the sort of national media perception of Memphis as sort of losers in this transfer portal cycle, or Memphis having a brutal offseason. I saw Jeff Goodman put it out. He said they've had a brutal offseason. I see people fight back against that, and I just want to be honest from where I sit. It has been a brutal offseason. Like, really, really tough. Now, one thing I've always and will continue to respect about Penny Hardaway is the guy adjusts and makes things happen on the fly. Like, he doesn't have a single returning player on this team this year, yet I still feel like they're an NCAA tournament caliber team. That should tell you about the job he does in pivoting. But if you want to act like what has happened at Memphis this offseason is normal, be my guest, but it's anything but normal.
Yeah.
When you don't have a single returning player on your roster, you're usually a brand new coach. There's only one other team with no returning talent on their team going into next year. That's UCF. Johnny Dawkins is about to get fired.
Yeah.
So while losing players or multiple players to the transfer portal is normal around the country, what's happened at the University of Memphis is not normal. And I don't think you can act like it is. Now, there could be reasons behind the scenes with money and how they're moving it and how much money is being raised and yada, yada, yada. But as much as I respect the ability Penny Hardaway has to pivot and make things happen on the fly, having to pivot on a constant basis is the ultimate problem I have year to year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, because what do we talk about with top-level basketball programs all the time? And I know it's changed a lot over the years.
But continuity matters. It does.
Continuity is huge. And it used to be that meant, okay, you return pretty much your whole entire roster. Now it's different because that's just not the case anymore.
But your main pieces now. But if they're there.
Yes. Bringing those guys in, having that nucleus and saying, okay, we're going into next year with the same nucleus of guys, and we got young guys coming in to replace them and to keep this cycle moving. Obviously, Houston is the example that we've used forever. It's the perfect example. And at Memphis, like, Penny's had success with these full platoon swap teams that he's had over the last several years. But you have to look, especially this year, and just like you said, it was brutal with who they lost, and replacements were really solid, but Dain Dainja was holding things up, and there was just question marks surrounding PJ Haggerty, and it was just difficult. And so it becomes like, how long can you sustain this?
Yeah,
like,
it's not a sustainable way.
Yeah, is this the year that we see it?
College basketball.
Is this the year that we see it implode and go, okay, there's going to have to be some kind of continuity, or this can't happen? And okay, here's my biggest reason, like overarching thought for it not being sustainable, right? So we talk about culture, continuity, these things all the time in college basketball. You can't build a culture like this, right? Mm-hmm. There is no existing culture if it's a new roster every year. Yep. And with the guys that you're bringing in, of course, you get FaceTime with them, you get to talk to them, you get to recruit them, you have sources that you can talk to about their character and all this kind of stuff. But you can't hit 100% of the time. Like, you're not going to hit character 100% of the time, because there are guys that will fool you. There are people that will take their backs, as far as, coaches from different schools, and will stick up for them. there's just no way to build culture when you don't have anybody coming back, and the guys that are coming in, you really don't know who they are until they get there. Like you can hear from a coach at another school that this player practices harder than anybody else and he wants it every day and all this, but you don't know that personally until you see it, until you're able to see it firsthand. And so that's my like overarching big issue problem with it is eventually it's going to fall off because you just can't be 100% batting average on this. You will get players or multiple, and we've seen it already.
Yes. Yeah, we saw it 2 years ago.
There is precedent for this. It's not like it's just been perfect every year. A couple of times it's worked, and one time it didn't work, and we feel like that was ego and different things behind the scenes that caused that not to work. But you can't say that's not going to happen this year. Do we think it is? No. Like you just said, we think this is going to be a tournament team. We like what they've put together for the most part. But we don't know what's going to happen in that locker room. We don't know what's happening in the locker room right now. We don't know what the egos look like. It's not sustainable.
And you know what? And truthfully, I know this is more of a soapbox thing, right? No, it really sucks for fans. It sucks for fans.
Yeah.
Like it used to be where you would have program pillars that I know who I'm showing up and who I'm watching.
Right.
I know that name. I've seen that person play. I have a connection with that person. Like fans don't have connection with these teams like they used to because of the revolving door. It is every single year. I know that's more, that's not about on-floor basketball.
But still.
But it's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Like if PJ Haggerty was coming back next year, that's worth the price of admission to every single fan that's listening to the show right now. And you can't tell me otherwise.
It's hard for some fans to have allegiance when there's nothing outside of like Penny himself to have allegiance to, or the program history itself. There's no players to have allegiance to. There's no, like you're saying, there's no reason to show up, especially early in the season. Maybe throughout the year, the team's playing really well. You get attached to a player, whatever. But it's not the same. It's not the same when you look and go, Jeremiah Martin, there are very few people in the country in college basketball circles that probably know the name Jeremiah Martin.
But his name gets brought up to this day, and he never was on a tournament team.
Every Memphis fan knows Jeremiah Martin, and every Memphis fan loved Jeremiah Martin because of his story and what he did in his final season at Memphis. And it's just like that's a thing of the past, at least for the moment. Who knows? Maybe things change and Memphis gets more continuity, but I'm right there with you. You got to feel bad for the fans because that's why you show up. It's because you love these players, you feel attached to these players, and they don't have that anymore. But now, Gabe, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side with the Hot Three.
Looking for an alternative to alcohol or conventional medicine? Check out Ounce of Hope, a Memphis-based dispensary with 2 local stores in the Sanderland Center and on South Cooper Street. You can get all the products you need in a location convenient to you. Each store offers an intentional shopping experience with dedicated bud tenders to answer all of your questions, from product selection and mushroom blends to our personal favorite, the Delta 9 seltzers. You gotta try the Peach Buzz. Try Ounce of Hope at either one of their 2 Memphis stores or at www.ounceofhope.com for convenient products shipped right to your door. Use the promo code BluffCity for 15% off any order, excluding sale items. Cannot be used in conjunction with other promotions or discounts. One use per customer.
And Jamon Meshack and Javon Small. What these two have in common are they're just absolute bulldogs.
Yep.
They are. They like to point of attack defending, can't shoot, but they're going to bite your ankles. Like Zach Kleiman had a type. He talked after the offseason was over that you need more dogs. We don't need no more cats. We need more dogs. And with a second round pick, these guys are not going to be like immediate impact guys. More likely than not, one of them at least is going to be a two-way guy. It's about building culture, and I like going into a training camp where you just go get a bunch of Rottweilers. I like it. It's a culture draft. Second round picks, I don't expect much out of them. You definitely don't want a prima donna in the second round, or you end up with Kennedy Chandler.
Jeez. Oh my God.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with your host, Lute Hatmaker, every Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
All right, I'll save the hot 3 theatrics for Kenny.
Yeah, that's his deal.
You know,
that's his thing.
That's like I just want to hop right into it. That's just what I want to do. And we already talked about the Grizzlies portion of free agency, locking up Jaren and Santi, signing Ty Jerome. But I know by the time this comes out, there's going to be a lot more moves. But what have you liked or not liked teams doing in the early sort of portion, first few hours of free agency?
Okay, I'm going to give a little bit of a rundown. I got a list pulled up for some of the things that have happened. Denver traded Michael Porter Jr. to Brooklyn for Cam Johnson. Clint Capella leaving the Hawks.
It was an unprotected 2032 pick, too.
Correct.
Going to the Brooklyn.
D'Angelo Russell. I'm trying to pull him up here.
To the Timberwolves.
Yeah, to the Timberwolves. Trying to give us a few talking points. Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the Hawks. So, a couple moves, but I want to talk about that one I talked about or brought up first. MPJ to Brooklyn for Cam Johnson. I love that.
I love it, dude. And then they signed Bruce Brown on top of it, the Nuggets did.
Yeah, got him back. I've always been a big Cam Johnson fan, like since he was in college, North Carolina, correct? Am I right?
Yeah, I wanted the Grizzlies to draft him in that draft, but he went way earlier than expected.
Right, yeah, he jumped up way higher than people expected just because he's an elite level shooter. And Michael Porter Jr. has been good for them, but I feel like Cam Johnson's just so smooth. He's so efficient. He fits like with the play style of what the Nuggets want to do. Like I feel like he fits better with the Nuggets than Michael Porter Jr. did. Just seeing him next to Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, like it just feels like his play style is perfect for what they want to do. Because and honestly, like Michael Porter Jr. getting out of Denver, I think is good for him. Because his play style, I don't think necessarily is perfect for Denver. I think he is able to use his athleticism at times, but we're not able to see him take over a little bit more, I guess. I feel like there's so much taken out of his hands. I think he's very he's a good shooter. He's good around the rim, super athletic. What is he, 6'10", 6'11"?
Yeah, he's huge.
And maybe being in Brooklyn gives him an opportunity to develop more into a star. Now, I know the ball handling is not great with it. Like, he has his limitations. He has certain things that have held him back also. But I think it'll be good for both teams. I think it's perfect fit for the Nuggets.
Yeah, Cam Johnson is basically the more controlled, more defensive-oriented, less shot-chucking version of Michael Porter Jr.
Pretty much.
It's literally what he is. And he's a little bit younger. I love this addition.
Yeah.
For the Nuggets. It makes a whole lot of sense. And then when you add Bruce Brown, who they won a championship with in 2023, to that fold, like they're sort of replenishing the deck. But here's the truth of the matter that they're not going to say out loud. They are trying to appease Jokic because they know they're going to have extensions on their hands and, trade rumors on their hands. They want to make sure that they restack the deck how it was in 2023 because since then, Jeff Green's out the door. Bruce Brown was out the door for a second. KCP's out the door. They have to replenish and get better around the edges for Jokic to stay interested. Let's be honest with the entire situation. Also, one that I want to point out is the Hawks. Now, the Hawks, they've had a really good offseason in general. I'll get to the free agent move in a second.
Yeah.
But they traded for KP, Kristaps Porzingis, for nothing. Now, that could flame out, but you traded a second-round pick in George Niang for him. Like, who gives a damn? So you take a shot on him. In the draft, you got the New Orleans Pelicans to trade up 10 spots so you could get an unprotected pick in next year's draft.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they went and they signed it was a sign-in trade, but they got a sign-in trade for
Nikhil
Alexander Walker.
Yeah.
And it was 4 years, $62 million. I think that's really good value for him. 38% three-point shooter, can guard your best player. The best player on the other team, and he's versatile too. I mean, like he's right around 6'6", 6'7". He can guard 1 through 4.
Yeah,
basically. Maybe not the best of point guards because they're a little quicker than him. Maybe not the tallest and biggest of 4s, but he can really be versatile and switchable, and he gives you a lot of different options on the defensive end, and he still holds up his end on the offensive end. I think that, like, thinking about what they could be next year, Jalen Johnson's coming back off of his injury.
Yep.
Trae Young's still in place. KP, Nikhil Alexander Walker. You have a lot of different ball players. Dyson Daniels, who is like one of the best defenders in the league. He took a leap offensively last year. Like, you just look at that team up and down. They now have some defense to supplement the offense that they've always had. And Trae Young, can't play defense, so what do you have to do with him? Surround him with a shit ton of high-level defensive players, and I think they've done that. Yeah. Now, I think a lot of this hinges on KP turning into, 90% of what he once was, if they're really going to make a run in the East. But they could be a surprising team going into next year. They've done a really good job this offseason.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. What did you think about the Lonzo trade? I think that was on Sunday.
Jesus. The Bulls are so stupid. So for those who didn't see it, Lonzo Ball was traded to the Cavs for Isaac Okoro. And Isaac Okoro averaged 6 points per game last year. Really good perimeter defender, but it's like, what are the Bulls going to do with him?
Yeah.
And how do you trade Lonzo Ball and not get any picks out of it?
Yeah.
And they haven't gotten any picks except for their own, using Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, from the Thunder, Alex Caruso, and now Lonzo Ball. They only have one first-round pick to show for it, and they were trading back for their own first-round pick.
Yeah.
And the best player, I swear, they've gotten like 7 players out of those trades. You know who the best one is of the bunch? This should tell you all you needed to know. Josh Giddey is by far the most productive.
Josh Giddey,
and he's not a winning player. Like, he's not. No one's gonna confuse him for being a star or a superstar or anything like that, or even really developing into one.
Yeah.
Can't really shoot. I don't know what
Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't care.
Yeah, and I was talking about this today on my show with Trevor Lane, he's a host at Lakers Nation, the front office show, and I was basically saying, like, common sense would tell you their GM Mark Eversley and the president of basketball ops are Turis Karnisovas. Like, common sense would tell you fire them. But I have a brother who lives and works in Chicago and has covered the Bulls for a long time. If I've learned anything about the Bulls franchise, is that Jerry Reinsdorf is a really bad sports owner. And everything about his legacy is hidden by the fact that Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were Bulls in the 90s. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if it weren't for them, he'd be considered unanimously one of the worst owners in sports. You know what other team he owns, by the way?
The White Sox.
Chicago White Sox, who had since 1899 the worst record in baseball. Now the Colorado Rockies may break it this year.
Yeah, I think they're going to break it, but
that Bulls franchise, it's like they're okay with just being like the 9, 10, 11 seed, and like
every year.
Maybe we get a couple playing games, maybe we don't. Let's just go back home. Let's go to Cancun.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, and they've stuck with Billy Donovan this whole time. Like, what's that? What has Billy Donovan ever accomplished in the NBA to get this long of a run of no winning? I don't get it. And okay, final thing, and then I'll get off my soapbox. The Bulls had a chance to trade Lonzo Ball for Marcus Smart and an unprotected first-round pick from the Grizzlies at the trade deadline. Instead, they extended him 2 years, $20 million, and then flipped him for a I mean, a fine player, but a useless player on their roster in the offseason.
Yeah.
I just, what are you doing?
Yeah. They have no direction, no rhyme or reason whatsoever.
I don't get it. All right, moving on. We had a trade in the NFL today, and it was it was an NBA-esque trade.
It was.
You had going to the Steelers, Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, and a 7th-round pick from the Miami Dolphins. And I think the Dolphins did okay. They get Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 5th-round pick from the Steelers.
I don't know if I like this trade for either team. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense either way. Okay, let's break it down a little bit. So the Steelers get Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey comes in immediately, their number 1 corner. Now they have a really good corner rotation. You got Jalen Ramsey, you got Darius Slay, who they signed in the offseason, and Joey Porter Jr., who I think not a lot of people have talked about yet, but he has star potential. Like, he has the potential to be a really good corner in the NFL. So the Jalen Ramsey addition, fine. Safety, really have much at safety. They brought in Juan Thornhill over the offseason, and so it's like the safety rotation is going to be weak now. The corners are going to be good. When it's like I could have seen a world where Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr. matched with Minkah Fitzpatrick at the safety position would be a really good secondary. So a little confusing there. And then they get Jonnu Smith.
I'll give them credit. Deshaun Elliott's a good player, and they got him on a pretty good deal.
They got Deshaun Elliott. They have Deshaun Elliott and Juan Thornhill, which is like a solid duo, but Minkah, Darius Slay.
For sure. Like Minkah,
you know what I'm saying? Like it just feels like a lot of lateral movement here for me because like Jonnu Smith has been a solid tight end throughout his career. Didn't really have a breakout until last year. I saw this today. He broke the franchise record for the Dolphins last year, actually, with receptions and receiving yards. I think he had 88 catches for 884, and he is the franchise leader for the Dolphins in single season now.
And he led the NFL at tight ends and run after catch yards. So
he was really good last year. That was kind of a blip on the radar. We'll see if it continues moving forward. And I know Arthur Smith loves him. That's where the whole thing comes from. He played for Arthur Smith in Tennessee, played for Arthur Smith in Atlanta. Arthur Smith actually traded for him. So this is twice now that a team that Arthur Smith has coached on has traded for Jonnu Smith. But then you look at their tight end room. Pat Freiermuth has been really solid throughout his career so far. He hasn't had much of a quarterback to ever throw him the ball. The lone season he played with Ben Roethlisberger, I think he had like 8 or 9 touchdowns, and that was not good Ben Roethlisberger. You also have Darnell Washington, who they drafted a couple years ago, who's obviously more of a blocking tight end. So now it's like this weird thing that they have at tight end. It wasn't a position of need for them. And you can say, they were getting another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers has never thrown the ball to tight ends, ever. Aaron Rodgers has not thrown the ball to tight ends. It is not his thing.
I think the familiarity with and success that Jonnu Smith had with Arthur Smith when he was with the Titans definitely plays into this. And also, he runs a lot of 12 personnel, so 1 back, 2 tight end. So, like, the issue you run into with the Steelers last year is Pat Freiermuth is sort of a do-it-all-esque tight end, could be better at blocking, but he's fine as an inline blocker and maybe, as a wing. So there's that. But Darnell Washington, as your sort of 12 personnel tight end, he doesn't provide a lick of pass catching.
No, he is a tackle.
Just like none at all. He's another offensive lineman. Now he'll be around the league a long time. We've talked about it in the past. Like those dudes. Yep. Who was it? Darren Fells, like guys like that, they stay around forever. So Darnell Washington,
Lee Smith,
always useful. I'm not hating on Darnell Washington, but what he does is straight up 6th offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So I think the idea behind it is let's bring in Jonnu Smith as a more dynamic option when we get into 12 personnel. So they're gonna have to cover the whole field. But to your point, like Aaron Rodgers has never really used tight ends like that. He just hasn't.
No. And then for the Dolphins, it makes even less sense. They trade back for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Most people probably don't even realize that he was actually drafted by the Dolphins, played with them for 1 year and a couple of weeks, and then was traded. to Pittsburgh because him and Brian Flores did not get along. Brian Flores moved him from safety to nickel. Obviously, it's worked out pretty well for him.
What a stupid. Brian Flores doesn't catch enough hate for all the shit he's done.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 5-time Pro Bowler and 3-time All-Pro at safety.
At the free safety position, yeah.
He's made a good career for him. But for the Dolphins, they just feel like a franchise in such flux. Like a couple years ago, it felt like they were rising. They had the number 1 offense in the league. You had, Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Mostert. Like it felt like they were in a really good spot. Then the injuries have started to pile up with Tua, Tyreek. Who knows if you ever are going to get a read on him or what's going through his head and how locked in is he going to be. And it just felt like, okay, if you're going to get rid of Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, trading for an almost 29-year-old safety who's not going to make a difference doesn't feel like it's going to do anything. Like, trade for draft capital. Even if it's like a 2, 3, 4 or something like that, even if you don't get a first in exchange, like – this just felt like it needed to be a draft capital move for the Dolphins, and they got Minka. He's a really good player. Well, but look at the Dolphins are terrible at corner. They signed, I think, 3 safeties this offseason. They have no corner depth.
And they're not good at safety either, though.
They're better.
But, like, what it ultimately does, and let's see, he makes about what? Minka $18 million a year, something like that. You get a little bit of cap savings, and I think that's all they wanted. They've been trying to trade Jalen Ramsey all year. But also, I've come to this realization: if you're a Dolphin and you go to the Pro Bowl, you're going to get traded at some point.
Yeah, you're going.
Like Raheem Mostert put that out today.
Yeah,
they treat their Pro Bowlers like shit.
Yeah,
and Jonnu Smith was phenomenal last year. Jalen Ramsey is Jalen Ramsey, and they just sort of
shipped him out of there. Yeah,
weird. But they've been trying to save money at the corner position for a while, man. Because they had for 2 or 3 years running there, from 2020 to like 2023, they had the most expensive secondary in the entire NFL.
One more point, and then we can kind of get on to the last one. Okay,
so 2021 to 2023.
Right. So they trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. They had Javon Holland, who's actually a really, really good safety. I think he signed like a 3-year, $45 million deal with the Giants in the offseason. Yeah. And he's 25.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like it's just there's no rhyme or reason. It doesn't make sense.
And here's what's so weird about them is I thought they were having like their gap year last year, and then they were going to like compete. They sign back the guys they needed to sign back, let go of the guys they needed to let go, and they just sort of had the gap year last year, and then this offseason they've just started into another gap year. Like,
I don't know.
I don't have really any hope that they're going to compete, but. Final thing, and I know Peter Schrager got killed for this on ESPN today. He basically said that the Steelers are going for it. Like, think of them as a team that's going for a Super Bowl. And I know people will say that about all 32 teams, but we know that's not true. Like, not every single team's idea. Like, do you think the Browns think they're going to win a Super Bowl next year? No. Pros are realistic. But he said that they're really trying to go get a Super Bowl. This is a win now roster, and he's correct in theory. Like they're trying to do that,
but not
pretty
really.
Clearly. I don't think they're doing it successfully, and I don't expect them to win a Super Bowl or even really. Like I'm debating whether they'll be a playoff team in the division they're in. But that's clearly what they're doing. You don't bring in Aaron Rodgers for 1 year. You don't you'll bring in Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Darius Slay. I mean, they have made they traded for DK Metcalf,
but then they traded George Pickens.
That's fine. I think that's kind of a win now. There's addition by subtraction in that locker room.
Probably fair.
Like they're really trying to win now. I just don't know if that's actually the result of all these.
It's like trying to put AK-47 ammo in a pea shooter. Like, really, that's how I look at it.
That's a good way of putting it.
Like, they're really trying to polish a turd. Like, you talk about going for it, and, like, we've seen the Rams go for it and win, and it work out.
Yeah.
It took them a couple years to reset. Like, this is going to be the nuke in Pittsburgh.
Listen, man. Like, we had this conversation earlier about the Tigers, right? I think with any well-run organization that's actually going to win a Super Bowl, You have to have some level of continuity, brother.
Yeah.
You just do. It's a necessity. You cannot lose your leading wide receiver, your starting quarterback from last year, running back from last year, starting running back, and then me be like, oh, I think they're replenished. I think they're ready to go. No, because there's a understanding of the playbook they have to have. They have to have some camaraderie.
Yeah.
Like you cannot sit here and look at the situation and the turnover that the Steelers have had and have any real level of positivity that they're going to be some playoff team or win a playoff game like they haven't since 2016 or 2017, whatever it was. So we'll see. Final thing.
Let's talk about it.
This one's fun.
Yeah.
EA Sports College Basketball is set to release
coming back
in 2028. EA Sports put out a tweet today announcing that they are working on a college basketball game. Obviously, they brought back college football 25 last year. That's set to release, I think, in July. So, this month. This one's going to be a long work in progress, but they're going to bring it back in 2028. I personally, I think the last time I played a college basketball game would have been around, when did they stop doing it? 2011?
Yeah, something like that. 10, 11.
Something like that. It was the one with John Wall in it.
Yeah.
I would always do I'd always make my, dynasty or whatever they called it on that game. It was the EA Sports game, and I'd go get North Florida. I'd always pick the Ospreys. No one wanted to see the Ospreys coming, brother. Like everybody was running and hiding, ducking the smoke when the North Florida Ospreys rolled into town.
Were you nearly as big on this game as you were college football?
No, but I really did enjoy it. I can say that. I think the one I'm thinking of had Blake Griffin on the cover.
Yeah, 10. I think that was 10. Yeah, because I think the first one I got was like maybe 05 or 06, maybe 04. It was Adam Morrison was on the cover.
Yeah, I remember that one. Was that when 2K was still making the game? I think 2K was still making the game then.
Was that 2K?
Yeah, I think 2K was making the game then.
I'm gonna do a quick.
If I'm not mistaken, the one with Adam Morrison, I think was 2K then, because they had 2K8. I remember in 2008 they were making the college basketball game with.
No, it was EA. NCAA 07 March Madness had Adam Morrison on the cover.
Damn, but then 2K, were they flip flopping years, 2K and EA, or were they both making one at that time? Yep, that's it.
That might have been the first one. I think I had 3 or 4 of them, just because.
But no, like obviously, college football,
right?
Like that.
But no, they were fun. I had the one with Katie on the cover too. I think that was maybe the next year. So it was fun. It wasn't as immersive to me as college football, just because, especially growing up as a kid, like I was way bigger into college football than college basketball. And I feel like this is kind of my thought process on this. I feel like this will get a lot of the younger generation into college basketball. Because college football is kind of one of those things that just, it is what it is. Like, especially where we live in the South, like it's so big that you don't have to worry about getting.
You don't have to convince kids to get into college football,
right? But I'm going to use this for me specifically as an example. So I was a huge college football fan as a kid growing up. College basketball, like we watched, and it was on at times, but it wasn't the same big deal. And so it was harder for me to get into the games because there was no names on them, right? Like it was just small forward number 35 or whatever. And it was like, I don't know any of these guys. Like I knew the Memphis players, like I knew the Tigers players. And outside of that, I was like, I don't know any of these guys. I don't know who's good. Like I can look at the rankings on the teams and tell you who's good, but I didn't have that like same emotional connection to it because I didn't know the players. And so I think for the younger generation, maybe those that are bigger college football fans and basketball fans, I think this will expand the game to them a little bit.
Yeah. And then,
I know if it was me and I could have gotten that game and it had the names on it and stuff as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, I'd have been like, all right, now I'm starting.
And what they did it with college football, like they do the ultimate team where they have like player cards and you get to play with those guys. And
right.
They boost the ratings and stuff like that's. I think I agree with that for the most part. Like it'll be a little bit more immersive for like the younger generation that's not necessarily into college basketball at this moment.
Yeah. So I think the last one, I think you're right. I think it was the last one was with Blake Griffin. So that would have come out in 2009. So I was 11, and the next one will be coming out when I am 30 years old. So that's pretty crazy, and it makes you feel kind of old also. So.
Yeah, there's something else that happens every day that makes me
add
feel
it
that
to
way.
the list.
Like looking at some of the guys I watch, like watch play NFL football and their
It
kids.
sucks, dude. It sucks.
And we're young, man. We're still young.
I know, but it's so deflating when when you know, like, Justin.
It's like
Jefferson,
before I know it, I'll be 45. And
Yeah.
it's just like shit. Time just passes way quicker now.
It
It
does.
is what it is.
All right, well, let's wrap this one up. We appreciate you guys for joining us this week. If you are watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment. If you're listening via podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, you can do the same there. Once again, we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.